time's up. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in at this hour of the day. After a long time, I think I'm doing this particular webinar, and I think one of the first ones in the whole industry somebody probably would have done. I'm not saying that nobody would have done. Of course, there would be previous recorded webinars if you look at the other websites as well. But it's my pleasure to bring this very interesting topic, a really game changer, right? So the question mark that I put it here, it's actually a game changer one. Now, PMBOK 8. Now, this session is oriented primarily towards those people who have already been known what is PMI, what is basically a PMBOK, and what about the PMP. This is the basic prerequisite. Feel free to stay back if you guys have come just afresh without any knowledge. Feel free to stay back and feel free to drop as well, right? Because this session is going to be technical advanced session, right? For next 35-40 minutes that I'm going to talk about and open up a Q&A session. Okay, it's fairly technical. So first of all, my disclaimer: one, I'm presuming you have a knowledge of what PMI is, what PMP is, and what PMBOK is all about. Okay. Okay. And second disclaimer, because it's a technical session, please bear with me, right? I know probably those guys who have joined from Asia Pacific region, heads off to you. Guys from Singapore, it's almost like 10:30 p.m. Guys in India, it's 8 p.m. Yeah, appreciate your presence here. Just be patient on this, okay? So let's jump. Who am I? Many of you know me. Still, formally, I represent the world of project management. That's my core passion. I've been living this passion since when? Since last 25 years out of my 30 years of career. I'm living this passion. And who am I? I'm basically a coach, trainer, mentor, worked with many different companies. I'm still, associated as a consultant to the project program portfolio consultant, whatever you call it, as a PMO consultant to many organizations today as well. And my forte over here is to make you understand how did PMBOK 8 come across, the evolution of PMBOK 8, and the differences between the previous edition of the PMBOK and the current one, which is getting out in the market very soon. It's not yet out. So hold your horses back. I'm sure you may have many questions around it. Go through this presentation. Your many questions will be answered. Second, this presentation is not shareable, so don't ask for the PPT. Having said that, if you want to take a snapshot of this, yeah, please do that as I go through the slides. Okay, so let me quickly rush through, or run through rather, this evolution slide. Okay, this evolution of the PMBOK, sorry, from the PMI, who's a not-for-profit institute, started in 1969 in United States, almost completed 55 plus years. And this institute has truly come of the age. To be honest with you, I am in love with this great institute, because the great institute not only gives us these legal standards of how in a professional way the projects are to be done across the globe, but also give you a guidance to the standard best practices in the world. Irrespective of whichever domain you come from, this standard always gives you the best practices, apart from being a legal standard that you can always customize for your use. I've been customizing, or so-called tailoring this kind of a standard for my each domain that I'm been fortunate enough to be associated with, right? Now, how this entire evolution has come across. The first version of this PMBOK was 1996. Can you believe 27 years of those five like-minded people and some more volunteers who started this organization in 1969? Those five people from construction management world. If you look at the evolution, right? Not too many things have changed between 1996 and 2000, 2004, etc. Right? However, over the period of time from 2004 2008 onwards, every 4 years or 5 years, depends, every 4 or 5 years, there is a new edition. Now, what is this new edition? Is it a student book that you and I used to study in the colleges and schools? Absolutely not. It is a practicing professional guide. It actually it says that when you want to when you get a good amount of exposure in the project management world, you can volunteer for or you can volunteer your contribution towards the next edition, right? And of course, there is a selection for the volunteers who can write the next editions. And this edition, which is the 2025 edition, which we call it as PMBOK 8, is coming after another 4 years. So if you look at this, PMBOK 7th was the last edition, or rather even the current edition, 2021, it was out. There are tremendous amount of changes. I'm not going to bother you with the PMBOK 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at all. But my session is going to be fairly detail oriented around 6, 7, and 8. And the differences, though, in the interest of time, I'll keep it still at a very high level. But feel free. I really request your entire focus and dedication on this session, right? Feel free to take a snapshots of this slides. Nothing it's been hidden, in fact, because it's all available on the PMI or the other websites, basically. It's been certified by PMI. So let's begin with the journey of PMBOK 6th edition. How did entire PMBOK 6th edition? Now, let me presume some of you already are PMP certified. So congratulations and a great job so far, guys. Thanks. If you are already certified and you are still being here, hats off to you. If you remember, those who have gone through it, the 6th edition, those who have probably few of you would have actually been seen the 6th edition. The 6th edition just was focused on the processes, 5 process groups, right? Remember, 10 knowledge areas, 49 processes. So it was entirely about input tools, technique, output, we call ITTO. Feel free to take notes about this, right? No problem at all. And this ITTO was kind of a game changer then, because the processes were so in detailed explained. If if I tell you my experience, when I saw PMBOK 6 first time, because when I did my PMP certification, that was back in 2008, and I've been doing the PMP certification programs or the coaching since last almost 17 years now, and I've seen this kind of evolutions. When I saw PMBOK 6th edition first time, I said, "Is it mind blowing or mind boggling?" And the first thought process came, "It's mind blowing." Not because it was almost like 700 pages, but it was so comprehensive enough. So if I just look at the quick wins for PMBOK 6, as I said, the 5 process group, 10 knowledge areas, primarily into the scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality management, etc. Right in front of you. The processes, they were all segregated into initiation to closure. Initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, control, closure. I still remember the numbers also of the breakup, right? Initiation had 2 processes. Planning had 24 processes. Execution had 8 processes, monitoring control had a 10 processes, and closure had a 2 processes. Total 49 processes overall. I still remember even today also. I did a lot of training on sixth edition as well in the past. So that was all about the composition of the sixth edition. It was primarily focused towards the risk management aspect, right? More of for risk management, a huge number of detailed changes, which 6 different processes and 7th processes evolved in risk management. Now, let me get going with a quick note on the sixth edition for you. This kind of a chart, I don't know how many of you would have seen, that was the icebreaker. This was the kind of a big revamp which was been done towards the 49 different processes, guys. So if you look at, as I said, those 2 processes and those 24 and etc., you know what? When I started tailoring this, first initially I never liked it. Some of you also honestly wouldn't like it, right? Even today also, if you look at it, you may not like it. But when I started tailoring, I said, boss, heads off, because it's input tools, technique, outputs. You know, the for this particular process on a SIPOC, SIPOC kind of a workflow, where you say standard input, standard output, right? SIPOC stand for. I have inputs to the process coming from a previous process outputs. You have a tools and technique to churn the inputs to outputs. What else do you need? If, for example, define scope. Now, define scope applicable to your project or not. Fair enough. If it's not, don't use it. So who says you use all 49? That was the misnomer for a lot of people. Oh my God, for 5 days project of a design, we need to use all 49 processes? Come on, no, not really. So this was the wonderful thing that PMI had done. Now let me quickly jump, right, to the evolution further. Now what PMI did, in 4 years, based on the contribution from the people like you and I, the volunteers, the new edition came in 2021. They removed the process groups. They removed ITTOs altogether and put it in a supplement or rather annexure or whatever, right? I'll tell you where they put it as well. So if you look at the 7th edition, which is current, many of you will have been gone through the 7th edition even today also. It basically talks about 2 things. One, it's a standard of the project management, and second is the guide. Same with 6th edition also. You had the guide, which had those 10 knowledge areas, and you had a standard, which had a five process groups. Now look at the drastic change here. Look at apple to apple here, right? If I look at the standard for 6th edition, 5 process groups, but here the standard for 7th edition, primarily onto the 2 parts. System for value delivery, which basically defined the mapping for an entire organization's vision, missions, goal, objectives, portfolio program projects, and how the PMO is aligned to it. And then there were 12 principles. You know what? When I saw the principles first time, I loved these principles. In fact, it was so good. In fact, PMI still retains not all of them in 8th edition. I'll talk about that, but many of them have been very nicely optimized, those principles today. So if you look at the 12 principles, it really talked about the whole gamut of coverage of so-called processes, ITTOs of the 6th edition, so forth, right? Now, if I now look at the second part of the PMBOK 7th edition, which is nothing but a guide to the project management body of knowledge, this guide has got 8 performance domains primarily. These 8 performance domains are like your 10 different knowledge areas in the 6th edition. That was not the it. It had 2 more parts. It has a tailoring consideration, and it had something called models, methods, and artifacts. You know what? The processes went into this last one, the models, methods, artifacts. and some of the description was obviously been done, or references which were been done from these respective domains to those models, method, artifacts. This section was relatively very new one. For example, I remember change management. Now, change management, you have organization change management. So there are two types of models in organization change management. One is called ADKAR, ADKAR, and second is called the North Star, right? So North Star was a PMI's own evaluation. The other partner, um, who PMI took over. But this kind of a models, artifacts, lot many new things came across. That was a pro for seventh edition. Now I'll tell you the con. What went wrong, or rather, what could have been done better, not what went wrong. PMI cannot do anything wrong. Rather, could have been done better. You'll visualize it now. If you have any questions, feel free to put in a Q&A, guys, right, on the Q&A panel, and I'll respond back to your questions in the end. We can always come back to the slides, no problem. Now look at this, where your PMBOK 7th edition is focused. Its principle-based approach, as I said, there are 12 principles, right? Second, it provides you the high-level guidance rather than detailed prescriptive steps. So if you look at the process-oriented or orientation of those 5 process groups, 49 processes in PMBOK 6th edition, it was fairly detailed, which was removed from 7th edition. Some people liked it, some people didn't like it. It's okay, fair enough. That was the personal, observation from everybody. The performance domains were replaced by those 10 knowledge areas. Quite a good lot. No problem at all on that, because it was relevant to the industry then when it was in 2021. I'll talk about little more on adaptive side, what PMI introduced anew. The methodology was not so rigid in terms of only predictive approaches. So your PMBOK 6th was focused only, in fact, I would say 90% plus focused on predictive methods in terms of we call waterfall style, right, of the life cycle of the project. Having said that, thanks to the great world of agile or adaptive approaches or adaptive development approaches, this 7th edition recognized those and got actually the adaptive planning into the foray. Thanks to the predictive adaptive both together. So now you need a third element in between predictive adaptive, which is called hybrid. Practically talking about my experiences in the real organizations, many of the people ask me, Saurabh, we need your help to convert or to transform as a transformation project in our company from predictive to adaptive. And after doing a lot of Q&A with them, I said, guys, don't, you will fail. More than 75% of the transformation projects from predictive to adaptive fail, only because you guys directly jump from predictive to adaptive, which is not even probably applicable to the line of business you have. Move, if you want to do two things. One, move from predictive to hybrid. Two, do a POC, proof of concept, or do a pilot with one department, one business unit, one strat, SBU, whatever it is, and then take a next call. Don't do a big bang approach. And that was a flexibility been given by the PMBOK 7th edition, guys. Now, a value delivery concept. In PMBOK 6th, value delivery was missing out, honestly speaking. Though, yes, the definition of value were there, right? But it was quite exhaustive here in terms of those tangible and intangible values and the project which are project outcome which are value driven rather than time cost scope driven only, which was the consideration for 6th. If you look at the triple bottom line earlier, it was CST, right? The cost, schedule, and cost scope and time. It's changed. It's changed drastically, where the business environment was been added as well. Value delivery needed to touch the business part. You cannot ignore business stakeholders today. Can you? No. You can't just do the projects with only a technical team or cross-functional team. You need to have your cross-functional team. That means you need to have your business teams with you. So, uh, value delivery focus PMBOK 7th edition on the delivered value. And the last one was the system thinking. And I'm sure all of you knows what system thinking is all about. It was all about going back beyond the projects management to the organizational boundaries, external boundaries, internal within the organization businesses across multiple lines of businesses and functions. So that was the this is where you actually realize the parameters like EF and OPAs of the world, basically. I'm not going to get into technical of it, but those environmental factors and process sets, these were much more elaborated in practice, being applied in practice, thanks to 7th edition. Okay. Okay. So system thinking got into little more depth through tools and techniques. Now, the tools and techniques, they were actually been, as I showed you, right? We've been taken into those models, methods, pretty much in detail, but they were been you know, customized, or rather, uh, they were been aggregated in the one specific area. Now the cons, as I felt, the drawback. One, it wasn't structured enough. When I probably just look at the 7th edition, the structure like 6th edition was missing out. Two, the details around the process orientation was missing out too. Though there was PMI realizing this, they created a new guide altogether. I guess about what 200 pages called Processes Practice Guide. It was a separate orange color guide. This was only focused on processes, leaving the entire process aspect from PMBOK 7 out to a different guide. Many people didn't like reading too many things, actually speaking. And in these 4 years, PMI realized we need something different. So look at this. This is what I was talking about. So now coming back to, so welcome to the new world of PMBOK 8. It's actually speaking a combination of those process groups back in back in the game, sorry, and the 7th edition altogether. It's a combination of two. It's going to be really a game changer. I'll tell you why. Because those models, methods, and new practices which PMBOK 7, along with the adaptive way which was introduced, and the practice guide of processes, the process orientation, since it's back now, this is going to help us a lot. Plus, you look at the right hand side, right? AI is getting introduced. Decision driven, data driven decisions being introduced into it. A few of the processes related to that as well. Focusing on the agile and hybrid methodologies primarily more than the predictive is the probably might be a little more deep dive into the world of hybrid and hence agile. Now, if you look at this particular slide, two of the changes also has happened. Integration management knowledge area, out of those 10 knowledge areas, where it has been renamed to the governance performance domain, which was very important. Governance was just a part of the business environment in 7th edition. 8th edition, it's actually been defined as a domain itself. Okay. The cost management, that knowledge area has been now renamed as a finance, which was quite interesting. In fact, it's quite legible as well. Stakeholders was now include communication. You know what? When I did my PMP certification with a PMBOK 3rd edition, stakeholder communication was one and the same knowledge area. They were not too different. 4th edition, 5th edition, I think 6th Sorry, till fourth edition. Fifth edition got this area separated. Sixth also took that legacy forward. Seventh took the legacy forward as well. But eighth, getting them united. I'm sure you would realize that stakeholders cannot live without communication, and communication cannot happen without stakeholders. It's a basic understanding, right? So it's been combined. Quality is actually being moved out as a knowledge area, as there's a default de facto standard itself in terms of principle. It says that quality has to be in every decision, every process orientation. I don't need a separate area for the quality management. It has to be that every part of the project that you do by default. And that's your principle. And if you look at it, last one, the procurement has been removed. It's actually not removed, but moved to the Axure, right? A few of the things which have been considered like this, the changes. Now I'll go a little, because this session is focused on PMBOK 8. I'm going to go a little more technical into PMBOK 8. Guys, please bear with me. If that gets too technical, bear with me, because it's really interesting. It's really interesting because I've done a good amount of research on this. Uh, and I love this, to be honest, the PMBOK 8. I think this is going to be a real icebreaker for many of us. So, what's PMBOK 8? It's all about 7 domains, not 8. Point number 1. Unlike the 7th edition, which had 8 domains, performance domain, you have 7 domains, right? You could see it here. Governance, scope, schedule, finance, stakeholders, resources, and risk. Okay, these are differently named also a little bit, right? Changed as well, as we discussed. And instead of a good news, instead of using 12 principles, though by the way, 12 principles quite good enough, to be honest. It was so practical. But yes, they have consolidated. They have not removed any principle. They've consolidated 12 into 6. Like how they consolidated PMBOK 6th into 7th edition. Similarly, these principles from 7th to 8th have been consolidated from 12 to 6. They've been renamed as well, right? So that there is quite a focus. If you look at this, these are the 6 principles, right? Just to quickly talk about, adopt a holistic view, obviously, of the project. When you think about a project, do a big bang thinking, do a big thinking. We call it as a longer duration thinking, right? End to end, not just end of the project, but beyond the project also, who you are going to hand over at end of the completion of the project. What kind of a value delivery has to happen? Now, this has to be in practical. In case you have learned value delivery principles in 7th edition, PMBOK is going to make it, ensure that you apply it, right? Or your milestones payments, for example, would be on a value henceforth, right? That's a potential to it, rather than just, oh, this is a scope, or these are the acceptance criteria. Not necessarily. If I have the customer who's PMP certified and you are my vendor, for example, I would probably put in my SOW saying that, okay, I do not accept your deliverables until you produce value, which means I do not hold you back your 10 to 20% payment, worst case scenarios in my contract to you. If you don't give value, I'm not going to pay you anything, right? If you give 50%, I'll pay 50%. Anyway, the time will tell us. But that's really interesting. That's how the business is moving towards. Uh, Not that something new for us, but that's a promise. This is how the 6 principles been embedded into it, as I discussed about quality. If you look at this one, this is something interesting, right? You guys wouldn't have seen this earlier. Sustainability, we are not talking about environmental sustainability, my friends. It's sustainability of the project that you do. Project manager is happy to close the project and forget the project 6 months down the line. Which project? Did I? Oh, no. Your long-term thinking or a big thinking would, actually speaking, be so strategic rather than tactical only to the project life cycle, that you need to ensure that longer period of time in the operations or a part of the other program, if the project is part of other program, it continues delivering value. It continued delivering value. And another game changer, though we had this kind of a DEI concept, no doubt about it, diversity, equity, inclusion in the 7th edition, but it's much more emphasized now towards the empowered culture. I can keep talking volumes about the culture actually, but yeah, I'll stop myself for in the interest of time. Let me take a deep dive into process aspect, guys. Right? Again, if you have any questions, put it in a Q&A. I'll not, you know, stop here. If you have thoughts, please put it in your Q&A section. I'll come back to it always. Huh. So as I said, PMBOK 6th edition processes have come, but much more linear, much more smoothen. Not 49, only 40 processes are there. Only 40 processes across 7 domains, not 10 project management knowledge areas, unlike the 6th edition, or 8 performance domains in the 7th edition. It's 7 performance domains and 5 process groups, 40 processes as you see here. That's the beauty. I've got an Excel sheet for it, which I have created for this kind of stuff already. And you obviously you can make your make your own when you look at this kind of an edition. Really interesting processes. I'll take a I take an example of one of the processes here. Let's look at this one. Okay. There's something which struck me when I looked at it, which was a little differentiated. Control finances. Control finances was actually not there as is. It's not only integrating the earned value management, not only integrating monitoring and control of the costs, but it actually go beyond the costs to finance. I'll not get into a difference between cost and finance right now. Okay. Don't think cost is the finance and finance is the cost. No, cost is a part of finance. So now there is an inclusion for the bigger finance game here. Whether you like it or not, sorry, but over the period of time, you would love it as you grow up the organization curve, right? Like I love it any which ways. Anyway, these are some of the few of the changes which have been done in the processes. Some of the consolidations have been done in the processes from 49 to 40. Name changes have been there as well. Okay. So I'll not get into each process here, but yes, I'll leave it to you to probably explore more onto it. Now, just hold on for next 5 minutes with me. I'm getting into a very strategic level of the implementation of the changes of the 8th edition and what do you get when you try to study this 8th edition. These are something which I carved out from my research. So let's get cracking. 1. 8th edition, as I said, the principles have been expanded and redefined. Okay, from 12 to 6. Okay, the complexity, because we live in the VUCA world, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. We live in that VUCA world today. The complexity, navigating the complexity is the only constant. Like you used to say, or we used to say, change is the only constant. PMBOK 8 recognized that we live, the projects are inherently complex. At times you feel, oh, simple project of just 3 months could be complex thanks to the risks involved inherently. But beyond that, beyond the inherent risks, I think we have come of such a great level of experiences that a lot of people contributed in last 4 years towards this edition. Say that navigating complexity is very, very important. And especially in the digital driven world where we have every day, week or a month, there are changes happening. How do we settle the change around? There are so many dependencies across many functions. And because of that, we are really a kind of a, living in a that web which have so many cross linkages and external and internal environment. These three things primarily provide you the greatest of complexities amongst all. Then, because of the uncertainties and the complex stakeholder interactions or complex stakeholder requirements, the needs of the stakeholders being changing every day, we somehow cater to it, or the projects do not produce value. What was the promise? Value driven objectives, right? Video. Can't help it. And that's where the new buzzword, you guys remember, right? There's something called VDO, value driven office, right? That's a new thing which has come instead of just a PMO. Anyway, so digital transformation and data, there's a more focus on AI ML. You'll enjoy this. Guys who have not done yet your PMP certification, you will enjoy this new things. But yeah, it's taking a time. I'll tell you when is it coming up, when is it going to be live, etc. I'll tell you. But there is the good news that they will have an applications of this AI ML in practice now, right? Towards the project management. Primary toward project management, okay? Not generic AI ML. Don't get me wrong. Okay. Data-driven decision making, as I already mentioned about it, so that means more and more quantifying rather than just qualifying. That means you probably can expect more and more risk quantification also in the game, and more quantification of the value as well that you produce. Integration with other framework. This was something completely missing in 6th edition, 7th edition together. There are probably what, about 12 or 13 different odd standards from PMI, and this seamlessly integrates with not only within PMI, but others also, like the one which is the SAVE, Scaled Agile, Scrum, right, from Alliance, Lean, the mother of all Agile, so-called, from those 1940s days onwards, and of course, Prince 2 from Oxelos. Now, is seamlessly integrating across, of course, through the kind of a layer, like you have a disciplined agile layer, so it integrates with the through the disciplined agile layer, like just an API kind of interface, right? From practical experiences of yours. PMBOK 8 aligns with the hybrid approach. And as I told you, more and more hybrid nature of the project management you will see here in this. And of course, then transformed back to agile, right? Sustainability. This is something which is pretty new in the world of, as I said, right? There's a principle of sustainability. Now, it's one of the principles there. Strong emphasis on sustainability and ethical practices. Of course, code of ethics is genesis of PMI, no doubt, from the beginning itself, but it's going to be more and more aligned, more and more focused towards it. So ensuring the projects not only meet the business goals, but align with the broader social environmental objectives as well. And that beautiful statement. Going beyond. Your organization exists, and hence your project exists. But you have your organization or company doing what it does. You have external stakeholders like environment, right? Let's talk about nature gives a lot of things to you, right? You are there for a public. We just do not talk about nature and talk about the external people at large, right? They are around. They are probably end users for your projects. You never know. So you worry about that, right? So go green, those kind of beautiful digital technologies replacing analog technologies, the carbon credits, many more touch points. You might find this. I'll tell you what's been happening around in this 8th edition today. That's my next slide, any which ways. PMBOK 8 has got some more digital tools and techniques like project management software, automation tools. And it was missing out completely on sixth and seventh edition. You didn't have MS Project, Jira, Asana, etc. But this is it not in detail, but probably in comparison or probably in application of them, not in practice, because this is a all objective based question exam. It's not going to be in practical project planning, project plan to be created, etc. But it's going to mention about the tools in the application in the relevant scenarios. Interesting. Focus on outcomes, I already spoke about it. And hybrid project, something I always keep talking about. So in a nutshell, if you want to take a snapshot of this, feel free. In a nutshell, this is the comparison. Not going through, not I'm not going to go through this intricate details about it and give you back on the 15 minutes Q&A now. But this is what it is. This is what I found from my experiences from 6th edition to 7th edition to the 8th edition. It's all about evolution. Forward evolution, always forward evolution. For example, look at this. It was only waterfall predictive, as I said, 90% plus. So it was 5-10% on agile side as well into 6th edition too. Waterfall, agile, and hybrid, all three in 7th edition, plus now, thanks to AI/ML, it's a digital first journey. Whether you like digital or not, guys, sorry, you'll have to. No choice. Anyway. So this was the, okay, sorry. This is the slide which talks about what is the progress on PMBOK 8th. PMBOK 8th is in the draft edition, guys. The first draft review, the period was from 20th December to 19th January, 1 month. It's over. You will not find this draft in a PMI website or anywhere. You will not get this draft again. So there are a lot of feedbacks from the people who studied this literally for a month and gave their feedback. It's a good thing to do. Now, the $1,000,000 question, when do this materialize in real life? The answer is approximately, we've been hearing, if not in calendar quarter 3, which means by end of September, could most likely by end of December, most likely by Q4 of this calendar year, not financial year, calendar year. By December 2025, you'll see this out in the market, out on the website for download. Second point. When do, even if you don't have a question on this, but I let me answer your thought process here. When do PMBOK 8th based exams start from? Generally, PMI will give about 3 to 6 months advance heads up to you. They will not start immediately after releasing any of the PMBOK edition. So if I have to believe, most likely Q1 of 2026, the calendar year, which means by March, or it might get delayed also, the implementation of it by June as well in next year of 2026. But yes, having said that, since this is quite in a far mode, those who are already preparing, right? Guys, please don't think that we will wait for another year, because there could be uncertainties. You never know that Q3 or Q4 could go to Q1, Q2. PMI is a very big organization, right? Finalizing this will go through a lot of quality checks. Don't wait. If you are going through, you're studying for PMP or planning to give a PMP, finish off as early as possible in the 7th edition currently. 8th edition exam will be difficult. I'll tell you. From my intuition, I feel that it's going to be difficult. 7th is easier. More than 6th. A lot of people tell, Saurabh, this is much easier than 6th, because there are a lot of easy questions on the adaptive and hybrid, primarily on the 7th edition. So those who are primarily preparing for 7, finish off as soon as possible as per your plan. Don't change. Don't change. In fact, ProThoughts uh, have been no, decided that okay, if you give your exam with the seventh edition, if you want some more free kind of a material, etc., when eighth comes through, if your professors can obviously help you with those kind of a material, don't worry about it, right? But yes, please ensure that you finish off this because it might be risky for you. Now let me take some Q&A. Could go a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to speak out the questions because the others may not see what the others would have typed. So part of saying, if I talk about stakeholder performance, it means customer end. So it is really monitored through the project manager because we need to focus only on the project life cycle, a stockholder management, which we can handle to sustain project smooth and making healthy relationship, which is also required. Yes, absolutely right. Whether you have a stockholders, which are stakeholders, but my dear friend, it's stakeholder performance is not just customer performance. Gone with the days when stakeholder was only customer part. Stakeholder, you and I, your team, your cross-function leaders within your own company, probably, right? Your vendors, your partners, all stakeholders, isn't it? Everybody is involved. So monitoring their performance, getting them engaged, engaging a stakeholder is important, and managing their engagement is important, right? But yes, you are right on the second statement that you said we probably need to have a broader focus as stakeholders. Intensity will decide. No? So that's the reason we talk about that power interest matrix, right? Intensity, the level of engagement, the level of the interest of theirs, the power of their influence and impact. That will decide how much do we need to spend time with them or how much of an effort as a project manager. But yes, it's a responsibility of a PM. Thanks, Partha, for asking. Feel free to put my, if you are not agreeing or anything, feel free to put me back on the same question. If you agree with some more comments, if you have, feel free to put Q&A. Raj says, we did a PMP training, November batch will change impact of our preparation, which are going to absolutely not. We will not, as I already explained you, right, some time back, it's not going to impact at all, Raj. As I said, feel free to finish off. Don't, if you've done November, December with me, don't even wait. Do whole redo, right? Absolutely undo redo. Do you know what? I did in PMBOK third edition, and I'm still absolutely on target on even the eighth edition today also in terms of I never have to do my PMP again. I'm still called PMP certified with the latest edition because I'm maintaining those PDUs with me, 60 PDUs which are required. So Raj, don't even think about it. Just go and give the exam. Nana says, how does it will impact the exam who has taken training on 7? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, Nana, as I already mentioned about. Go get going. Parthav says, focus on value. What if project goes on hold after completion of the first work package for next 3 months and we don't have a clarity? So as the focus on value, do we really need to raise a CR? A very good question, right? For benefits of others, let me just repeat that question. Focus on value. What if the project goes on hold after completion of the first work package? So you have let's say there are 5 work packages. Parthav. After the first one itself, project on hold because of certain challenges at the stakeholder side, maybe a customer side, could be external or internal customer, internal meaning a business, other business department you are serving. Some finance related issues or some resource related issues, so probably they have put on hold. And you do not have a clarity when do I start back. Fair enough. Now the focus on the value, CR. Parthav, not really. Is this primarily it's in a hold, no scope change right now. It's in a hold. The best thing is to close the project. For now, I would do that. I do that. Actually, I do that in the system that I manage. I close the project with the permission of the stakeholders and open up a new project when they are ready. Simple as that. As simple as that. So then value delivered would be of that one work package. You didn't get any value of that one work package, then God bless you. All right. So it's just like this. You have a cricket match and there's a rain. It gets on hold. They wait for some time. They take a final decision based on how many overs already been done so far and the run rate. Don't you? Exactly the same principle, my friend. Okay, let's go back to Jaiwan. Hi, Jaiwan. In finance, there is no process mentioned into the execution. Don't you think there are should be connection by adding at least one process, planning and control? Jaiwan, where were you, my friend, during this review period? You should have absolutely vouched for it. I love your question. Seriously, should be there in the planning. It actually speaking, the only reason I'm just thinking aloud, most of the execution is with respect to scope. So your schedule, cost, finance, everything is been aligned to direct and manage project execution process. Everything aligned there from finance. One reason it could that's the reason it's not there, and it's only planning and planning in terms of the uh, plan cost management, determine budget, and estimate the cost. Right, in the monitoring and control, you have a control cost. In execution, it's only related to scope. In execution, you have effort of the resources, three types of resources: manpower, material, equipment. The execution of that scope with respect to resources would be a cost. That's already incurred or already considered in the manage and direct and managed project. That's probably could be the reason. But yes, if you were there in the 20th December to 19th January, you would have given a nice feedback. Absolutely. Like the idea. Why not? What if, yeah, in fact, with the process name also. Yeah. Nana says, why is it evolving 5 years almost? Nana, as I mentioned, it takes every 4 years to collect all the practical experiences of champions like Nana of the world and make them subtle to have a radical change now. Think about this, Nana. If I every 2 years I introduce the people who have not even probably given after their training or forgotten, such a huge change would probably jeopardize the system. And that was the thought process every 4 to 5 years. If I now look at it, 2017, 2021, 2025, still talking about 2025, not talking about 2026. It might get, so the version, as I said, might get out in December 2025, slightly. But for whatever reason, by a quarter. Priyanka says if we are focusing on a data driven and quantity driven, what about quality of the project? Oh, Priyanka, absolutely. Quality is inherent. Can't help it. Can't help it. It has to be part of it. Qualitative, quantitative more because it's towards a value. That doesn't mean qualifying a value will be out. No, not at all. Absolutely interrelated. You are right. Abhishek says, very informative session. Is PMI going to ask experience of AI tools? Not really, Abhishek. As I understand the draft, I don't think application of AI related to PM. Yes, from the understanding perspective, yes. How does it? But actual tools of AI that's out in the market in a PPM portfolio program management. If you look at the AI tools, they're already out. Nothing specific onto it. Uh, and even if filing the application you are asking, right? No, not really. They will not look forward for it right now. That process remain the same. No changes. Shivaji says, I am pursuing PMP certification post of it. You were advanced training for PMP. Oh, no, we do not have any advance for PMP, Shivaji. Yes, just but you can always do program management or portfolio management certifications, Shivaji. You can go to the PMI.org website or always contact those numbers, and they will redirect to me. I'll respond back one to how the program and portfolio management certification can help you further. Nitesh saying what level of AIML is mentioned in 8th edition? Do everyone has to learn? Nitesh, honestly speaking, he said it was only a draft, right? It is not yet finalized, but what I understand and what I the insights that I get from it is it's going to be at a very high level, 30,000 feet top view. It's primarily how your projects will be benefited from the machine language and AI. This doesn't have any coding for sure, even question related to those technical codings on the AML, or it not even the those specific models of the AI, nothing like that. Um, Mrulan Singh says, can you mention the PM tools mentioned in PMBOK 8? Okay. So there, I didn't cite any specific tools, but just a mention as you just saw it, because as I said, it's in the draft, so there were much more probably finalization on the draft and all that's supposed to come. But yes, time. It's just a matter of now 6 to 9 months now, or 3 to 6 months probably. We'll get to know what tools they are. Nana said, with evolution of Gen AI and others, project management go in vain as it being practically predicted AI agents will replace PM. Nana, talk to me after 2 years and 3 years. And let's have a chat. Honestly, right? And I bet it will be much more, uh, what do you call, happier because you'll automate, right? Talk to me on this. And we can have a big debate. Of course, now, no doubt, even after, you can reach out to anybody in the ProThoughts and they will direct to me. But specifically, ask the same question to me after 3 years. I've debated enough on that actually. So don't even worry about it right now. Unless you do not know, Nana, how to produce value. If that's the case, sorry, that's going to be a challenge then. Anyway, I hope you understand that. Okay, Parthav says today's workshop, the given PDU code will help us enough for the PMP enrollment. Do we need more PDUs? How much PDU do we require to enroll in the examination? Part of the 35 PDUs, no, this is not for that. 35 is a mandatory PDU, come from the training, wherever you take it from. That's a mandatory. This is a single PDU. One PDU do not get help. But if you are already a PMP certified, this one PDU contribute toward your maintenance of the PMP through the 60 PDU cycle that you have after PMP. This kind of a webinars help you with that. In fact, there are many more recorded session guys on the PMI. I suggest who are those who are PMP already, please refer to those recorded webinars. The honestly beautiful webinars. Many of your tension of those 60 PDUs will go off as well then. Francis says, as the 8th edition outlined in a detail other frameworks? A good question. Since it's just been released, to be honest, Francis, answer is no. Not yet. But on the contrary, what PMI is going to do is they have already included this verse over there of this. They are moving one step forward and making a collaboration. In fact, they have already probably completed or in progress of getting this collaborated with the Agile Alliance, Scrum Alliance, and of course the Excelos of the world too. Okay, any more questions? 5 minutes already up. Any more questions that I'm not seeing it? Feel free to type afresh in case I missed out your question. I know you must be, guys must be hungry. But otherwise, if you don't have, we'll give back this one to you. Okay, I see some more. Thank you. Sorry. One sec. Priyanka saying project management is complex depending on many factors. AI driven tools might fall short as the ignorance bias of a human is missing. Pretty true, Priyanka. That's true. You never know. I remember my those experiences where Gary Kasparov in the chess game, right? First IBM Blue. And I always cite this example. It was a human element who beat the Gary bet, beat IBM Blue. IBM Blue also beat Gary next time. It was like quite a race, in fact, between them. If you look at this today, a human will beat AI in the chase as well, for sure. But yeah, Bianca, you are so right. Is there anything else that I missed out? Nana, you ask when this will be released. An exam to be based on. I already spoke about. Anything else? Anybody? Otherwise, we wrap up for the day, guys. Nothing? If you still have any more questions, guys, feel free to put back to the respective numbers which I gave you on the slide, and they will always make you talk to me one to one.